with retailers, consumers. That's all something that's required through the entire supply chain. So even we buy raw materials to put into our production, we usually get the SDS to make sure it complies with the European regulations or US regulations or whatever country we're making the product for. So on that safety data sheet on the SDS, it will give a whole list of the company, the manufacturer or distributor, and then all the various warnings, to take care of the product, how to store it, what you may want to consider wearing when you work with the adhesive or chemical, and then any of the concerns. So various countries have different chemical triggers to warrant against concerns for a person's health. Um, and some countries or some regions are much more strict than others. Um, the U.S. has certain items that they regulate, but it's not much compared to the European Union, where it's heavily regulated. Other parts of the world or other countries don't have much regulation regarding those things. But an SDS sheet is required um, for all shipment of chemical goods and for all retailing of chemical goods.
So now you say required. Is that legally required in the U.S.? Just asking for clarification there.
Yeah, so in the U.S., they have what's called the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and that's to regulate, obviously, products going to a consumer. When it comes to the chemical side, there's a lot of different committees, but as a manufacturer, you have that responsibility. It's also required by law for international shipment. So all SDSs must be compliant with IHG or IHS international codes for shipping of chemical products. Doesn't matter if it's adhesives or a
Right.
cleaner or something else. In the US, if a consumer is not able to get an SDS from the company, or the company refuses to provide the SDS, then yes, that is a violation of consumer rights, and that can be reported to the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Council. There's also regulatory agencies within that sector that also require it. So depending if it's adhesives or cosmetics, there's also industry standards as well.
Awesome. Now, so for your average crafter consumer, what parts, if there were, say that customer's reaching out to the manufacturer, supply chain, or retailer, and they're getting that copy of the SDS, as your average consumer at home crafter or whoever is purchasing these products and they request it, what parts of an SDS should they be looking at for your average consumer?
Yeah, so if the consumer goes towards the length of wanting to get an SDS, the retailer should be able to provide that to them through the customer service department. The retailer should have that on file. A company certainly should have it on file, and you might be able to just search for an SDS online. But once you receive that, the first section tells you, okay, is this a manufacturer or distributor? Okay.
Right.
It also has to tell you where the product is made. Okay. And that'll usually also be on the consumer product.
Okay.
But after that section, one of the key sections is section 3, which is the composition of the actual chemical product. And usually at the bottom of section 3, it'll reference you to like section 11, which is a toxicological section. And then another key one to look at is section 9, which is the physical and chemical properties of that product, which when we're looking at different tests or different products, that's very key for a manufacturer like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We look at molecular weight and all these other different properties. for different countries around the world. I mean, SuperTite, we export to over 60 countries around the world, so we're used to having to go into detail for all these different regulations. But again, on the SDS, Section 1, Section 3, Section 9, and 11, and 15. Those are the big ones.
I'm making notes so I can make a little cheat sheet for our customers later, because I know we're going to have all kinds of questions. And so I'd like to be able to put together just, hey, here's a highlight of some of the things we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, the main big one you come to is Section 3, like what's the main composition of the product? And you can read that chemical there, and you can also Google search that chemical if you're kind of bored with the limited data that might be on the SDS. But if Section 3 doesn't trigger enough information for you, you jump to Section 9, which is the physical and composition part of it. And then Section 11 really tells you the full toxicological evaluation of it based on international standards.
Okay.
And then Section 15 goes about the regulatory in relation to that country. So if you receive an SDS from SuperTite, that's going to be an SDS for the US. If you're in Spain and you want to get SuperTite SDS in Spain, that's a separate SDS document based on European Union regulations.
I have a question. Can SDS sheets be altered?
Only by the manufacturer.
Right.
So
okay.
There's programs for writing an SDS that meets international standards.
Right.
And so when we know that we're going to sell our product in the US, we make our US SDS sheet. We enter the formula and the chemicals, and it begins to build that out based on US regulations.
Got it.
So if we sell that product in Europe, then we'll enter the same chemical formula, but it will print out slightly different warnings and stuff for European Union.
Awesome. And then I have another quick question from Caitlin, and it says, what if it's just a repackaged product? They aren't manufacturing it themselves.
What if it's a repackaged product?
Yeah.
You mean it's like a white label product, or
privately labeled?
Yeah. Or if they're taking like the main glue and putting it in smaller quantities for resale, like without proper labeling, like that's a no-no.
Yeah, that would be a no-no.
Right. I used to do it.
That puts 100% chemical that puts 100% chemical liability on the person that is selling the product.
That's correct. Yep.
They do not have permission from the manufacturer to do that. If it's a white label product, meaning it's a blank tube and someone's putting a sticker on it.
Yes.
That person that's putting a sticker on it, they must have that SDS to sell it to the consumer.
Right.
Okay. And they should get that SDS from the manufacturer they're buying the product from.
Yes, for sure.
So if that company is saying we don't have an SDS, it's their job to get it from the manufacturer. Now, if the manufacturer says we're not giving you SDS, I don't believe it, because they had to ship it through international containers, international shipment standards, which requires an SDS by all shipping brokerage.
Right.
So if they don't do that, then that's highly illegal. Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
And for the consumer, if they're not getting the SDS from that company, I mean, one option is, just not buy from that company to protect yourself. You don't know what's in the product.
Sure.
But the second step you can do is you can go to the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and you can call them, and they'll take your information. They'll send you in the mail a form for you to fill out, or you can fill it out online, the product you're trying to buy. You can't get the SDS, and that'll go into a file report on that company or individual, or however that's organized.
Got it. Okay. Awesome.
Well, I have another question. So we see different labels on different products, stating non-toxic or safer. what would be the difference between that type of labeling? What makes something non-toxic versus not non-toxic?
Well,
I don't want to say bad for you, because that's not what I mean at all. That's why I'm trying to,
Right.
Non-toxic versus
toxic.
not completely non-toxic.
Well, toxicity is relative to what a chemical or item does to an organism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that term non-toxic is very widely used. It's not regulated in the United States. Okay. So that's important to know. People will make claims. Now in Europe, for the products we sell in Europe, the same we sell in the US, we do have the non-toxic claims because they're classified in Europe as meeting those standards. In US, they don't have a fully written standard for that. Okay. Would you say that sodas are non-toxic? Okay. Would you say certain organic materials are non-toxic? Let's see. Let's just name a couple of organic materials that are highly toxic, right? Let's say
Puppies.
Did you say puppies?
Poppies, not puppies.
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 Okay,
Yeah.
said puppies. Like, what?
So you're looking at like arsenic,
Yeah.
uranium, plutonium. These
Right.
are all organic,
Right.
but they are highly toxic.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about when you see it. When we put that claim on the product, it goes through a commission in the U.S. It's a third-party commission that approves that based on their laboratory studies, it does not trigger any harmful reactions to the human body. Okay, so think about when you see non-toxic for school glue or non-toxic on some of our hobby glues. Okay, that's where it's been tested and will be labeled that's safe for children. Okay, so those would be considered non-toxic. But yeah, going to a claim in the U.S., there's not much. So there is some regulation from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, because they administer or kind of oversee the Federal Hazardous Substance Act, and they have these things where they define a toxic product as one that can cause you personal injury or illness, but it's not based on an exact time period.
Right.
But they have more detailed stuff on it, like it kills 49% or 50% of the lab animals they tested it on, and
right.
Stuff like this. And then also toxic free term, or is not regulated by the CPSC or the FDA.
Right.
But when we say that our product is safe, certainly it passes all of those tests. Okay. And then I think we have a couple of eco-friendly products that are essentially considered 100% safe for the environment.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when a consumer is looking at, their package, how, whether that's in the plastic still or whether it's just the bottle, sometimes we've got those symbols on packaging. Are there any symbols in particular that consumers should be looking out for and what they might mean for us buying them?
Yeah, so that's a nice addition the U.S. finally started to do in the retail side, is begin to adopt the international standards for warning symbols. So, in the U.S., they'll on your package, like here, I'll just put up this little package. On the front of the package, this is your primary zone. There'll be some sort of warning. This is for super glue. Okay, so there'll be an immediate warning there. So you want to look on the front of the package. Then you want to turn to the back. Okay, And there should be a very clear delineated section here that is gray or outlined separately. And that will have the continuation of the front warnings. Again, this is super glue, but we put this in English and Spanish. And there you see the international warning symbol, pictogram. Okay.
Right.
This,
like on that.
Yeah, this exclamation point says, hey, yeah, this is an irritant, for example. Okay, that means it's an irritant, and that's very acute. It could bother your skin or something like that. You wouldn't say that that's toxic, but that's the section on the back that you want to read, because anything that triggers Prop 65 warnings for California, anything that triggers cancer warnings, reproductive harm warnings, or neurological disorder warnings will have to be printed in this section. Yes, right. It is small print, but read it, because this is absolutely valid. The symbols you're talking about, one is irritant, another one is maybe flammable or irritant.
Which I think is the little fire.
Yep. That just means that it has a
flash point above like 265 degrees, I think.
Oh, no. It would be, no. It just means that liquid product has a vapor that can become flammable.
Okay.
But there's different flash points, different trigger points for that. I mean, some solvent can become highly flammable at a very low temperature. But when people hear the word solvent in the chemical term, or from our production side, water is a solvent. It's a liquid that can evaporate. Alcohol is a solvent. And then you have like your acetones and other chemical solvents. But the ones you want to look for is when they have the diamond pictogram with the exploding chest.
Okay.
Or
I'm trying to picture this in my head right now, but
yeah, or a pictogram of one with like a dead fish and a dead tree.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't know where to review some of the pictograms, but certainly that's an important one.
Right.
But
I have a couple of hopefully maybe little quick things. Let's see. Okie Creation says, are U.S. regulations more strict than EU regulations?
Absolutely not.
Opposite.
Opposite. Yeah.
Correct. So the European Union has what's called the REACH regulations, which we must follow because our headquarters are in Valencia, Spain.
Right.
And so all of our raw materials must meet the EU REACH regulations before we even start to begin chemical reactions. Okay, so the raw materials even have to do that. Why? Is because their medicine and healthcare is more socialized, and they can't have an overtly sick population. They can't handle that load. It's a densely populated area, the European Union, the continental European Union. And so those are very strict regulations, and they change every year. Okay. More and more chemicals are being added to the list. And as a manufacturer, we have the responsibility and a requirement to read what's regulated or what is become illegal or not allowed anymore. And then we change our formula. So we already know what's coming down the pipeline in 1 to 2 years. They have sunset dates for these chemicals. And so we may have to adjust our formulas. In the US, the closest thing you might have to that is the Prop 65 out of California.
Right.
And that's a much shorter list of chemicals that are not allowed.
Right. Let's see. There's a couple other questions about shipping to Mexico and Australia, so we'll answer those near the end. Here's another quick one. Are there separate requirements for large manufacturers or retailers and someone who does small batch home mixtures?
Home mixing glue?
Yeah, I would say that's probably a no-no.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so if you're a person that's trying to make chemical adhesives at home, you would need to have a business liability insurance coverage for that,
A big one.
consumer liability insurance for it, and chemicals. No matter what, the labeling is required on all packages, and it must adhere to those labeling requirements
Right.
that the U.S. has.
Yep. And so Caitlin says the pictogram with the exploding chest says health hazard for carcinogen, mutant, I don't even know that word, reproductivity, toxicity, respiratory sensitized, target organ toxicity, and aspiration toxicity. Wow.
Well, that's just some. Okay.
Yeah. So, right.
That covers a wide range of different
Right.
chemicals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
what harm it can cause you. Yep.
Certainly. Yeah. All right, Jesse, what's your next question?
So now that we've gone over like some of the scary, stuff that you can find on an SDS, where can you find what PPE you should be using with those adhesives to protect yourself from the what could possibly seem scary?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step is just when you're in the store looking at the product package, because there's alternatives out there. I mean, that's one of the main things we're offering to consumers in the U.S. is products that work similar to or are an improvement upon some of the products that are common in the U.S. market. So read the package, I would say first. That would be the biggest trigger. If you're seeing cancer warnings, reproductive harm warnings on the package,
even if you're not seeing the scary warnings. Yeah, even if you're not seeing like the exploding or dead fish, but if you're seeing irritant warnings and you've got someone who has asthma or has lung issues and they're sensitive to smells or breathing in things, is there something they should be looking for as far as PPE to stop that, or even gloves or anything like that? I mean, we've seen people, applying glue with their fingers. Should we be wearing gloves if we're going to be touching those types of glues?
Yeah, so really, and I know people usually don't do it, but that's where the SDS comes in, right? So you also have to consider the time length exposure you're given to the product, even if it's just the irritant product, as well as essentially how the ventilation is in the space you're working. Usually we measure stuff based in a 1 cubic meter working area.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to go back to that one. So talking about measuring stuff, I have someone that's asking, and I'll come back to you, Donna. How am I able to do a test to know what I'm breathing? Is there a good device for home use? So how do you mean the 1 cubic meter? What was that about?
Well, those are lab equipment. There's not, I mean, unless you put a piece of equipment in a vacuum sealed chamber and follow laboratory vacuum testing on those type of breathing apparatuses or machines, you're not going to have a test to know that, because some products have what's called VOCs. That just means volatile organic compounds. They're in the air every day. Your body produces them when you exhale. You're exhaling VOCs. So the term VOC has been misused very badly, I would say, in the U.S. media. What you need to understand is through that SDS, you can look at molecular weights. And if there's a trigger for carcinogenics or a trigger for reproductive harm, then you're dealing with molecules that are much heavier and slower moving. And actually, after the product cures, can still cause what's called aromatics to occur and release after curing. And those are very dangerous. Really, in Europe, they have those measurements. We're required to put it on our packaging. It's a little mother with a kid holding hands under a house with a cloud over them.
Oh, wow.
And we have what's called A+ rating. That's the highest rating. So they have A+, A minus, and B. But after that, you don't qualify for consumer sales. But in terms of testing that, knowing what you're breathing, it's going to have to come from the package and the SDS.
Right. And then that brings me back to Donna's question. Are SuperTite formulas the same in the US as they are for EU? I think they are. I think they're specifically, that's the reason why, because the EU is more in depth on and restricted. So that helps us here in the US have those, I guess, safer ingredients or higher quality ingredients.
Yeah. So our formulas will be the same or within a range, just to improve maybe thickness or more liquidity, lower viscosity, depending on the consumer. But the overall formula, chemical wise, is the same. We're using European REACH regulations on all of our products.
Yeah.
By far, or unless there's some special glue that Kelly likes that wants us to take something and make it different. But
and I got 15 emails today on when is it going to ship and when is it going to arrive. It's coming. It's on the way.
Yep, shipping tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, tomorrow. Woo! Y'all heard it here. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it right here. Woo!
I got some of my drawer back here.
I know.
I'm
right?
hoarding it for that project.
Oh
about.
My God. It's worth like $800 right now. So put it on eBay. I might buy it.
But going back to that PPE question, if because we talk with a lot of families that have high sensitivity to skin or lungs or special requirements or attention that needs to be dealt with for their body, then we'll help advise them, get a fan by your work area. Make sure it's nice room temperature area you're working, not too cold, not too hot.
Right.
But have a fan.
Are things like an air purifier going to make a difference in a workroom?
Not in that immediate fashion, because the way liquid adhesive should work is you should be using the least amount of glue possible that does not expose the glue beyond the bond line. So we're talking very, very minute amounts. If you're having to use more, that should also be a concern. That'll also tell you the product has more heavier molecular weights and solvents that are not so good for you. Wearing a respirator mask in certain situations might be advisable if you're working on a project over a solvent for 3 hours. But I haven't checked what the length of time a woman usually goes to get her nails done and sits in a nail salon. I would imagine that's possibly over an hour. I don't know how long, but what that average time length is. But there's many other solvents they're exposed to in a nail salon everyone should be wearing a respirator mask maybe in there. But that's just.
So I know another question that came up in regards to adhesive, and this I guess is probably both with single part and the 2-part epoxies, is what makes an adhesive qualify as FDA approved or FDA compliant when it comes to a food contact surface?
Yeah, so that's, I think, a lot of the tricks, or not, maybe tricks is the wrong word. That's maybe the strategy some people use for epoxy in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., you really don't hear much of that. It's either food contact safe or not. Is it raw food contact safe or not? But all of that is relative, because epoxy, going from liquid form to a solid form, it still takes a long time to cure, whether it's single component, which is more unique on the industrial level, which we make and do stuff for hospitals over in Europe, to where it's a two-part, okay, and you're mixing together something that is constantly curing over and over very slowly. So even though you might be done with your project in 1-2 days, that epoxy is still curing weeks later. So if you go into a bar and you see, these long bars covered with epoxy and they feel kind of sticky, tacky?
Tacky, yeah. Like
That
it
means
just it's not quite clean.
it's not cured. It's been
Yeah.
reactivated because alcohol as a solvent is reactivating the epoxy coating on the bar. Okay. So when people ask about the FDA stuff, it's just like, okay, there's going to be strict regulation classifications required by government or healthcare settings that will state that. So if I'm doing a tumbler, putting crystals on it, and I'm putting it to my mouth, do I want to put epoxy there, or do I want to put something that's classified as safe or non-toxic or safe for kids? Those are things you just need to be mindful of when people are arguing if it's FDA or if it's food grade safe. Because again, epoxies, if it comes in contact with alcohol, that can help dilute it and reactivate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then talking about the food safe, FDA safe epoxies, are those also glue? Are those, for what most of us here do, the rhinestone application, is a coating epoxy going to react the same way as a glue epoxy? How are those different?
Maybe restate the question.
If you're doing the tumblers and coating the item and using that particular brand because it's food safe or FDA compliant or however they describe that, are those type of epoxies the same or good for us to use as adhesive epoxies? Because we're not coating things, we're using them to bond. Do they have adhesive properties to handle the stress and wear and tear that we're putting them through? So a coating epoxy over a glue epoxy, are those the same?
They're not the same. The formulations are different. And there's a wide range, just thousands of formulas to do something like that. Same epoxy you might see that's a coating epoxy could also be used for marine epoxy.
Okay? Yeah, for sure.
You would just go back to the SDS on that for looking at those the ISG symbols, those international symbols, and seeing those. Doesn't matter even if FDA has that sign. If you see on that SDS the international symbols for that'll tell you. The adhesive epoxy, so under a product bonding, that's going to have less reaction to outside substances or outside materials. Awesome. So that's not going to have anywhere close to the type of impact of constantly curing or recuring with the coating epoxies.
All right. And if this can be quickly answered, is there a two-part epoxy adhesive in the market that has little to no isocyanate exposure?
Isocyanate exposure. We have some in Europe. There's just different grades of epoxy. The US, there's not many offerings. The main reason SuperTite doesn't bring over a lot of our unique or industrial or high-end products is just that we don't have a demand for it.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Jesse, what's your next question?
Just because there's less regulations on the safety side of it here, that the demand isn't here for those products. I would think we could use the same products, I would think. So is it because there's less regulation on chemical safety here that the demand isn't as high for higher end products? I don't know if
That's probably one thing. I mean, it's also, the type of epoxy for the general use coating stuff they're making is a very low quality epoxy. And when you're doing 1-to-1 ratios, those are where we our team in Europe, we don't understand why the US likes to use 1-to-1, because it's just not as strong, whether it's coating or adhesive epoxy. We don't understand why you do it. There's many other risks associated with 1-to-1 on the chemical side versus going 2-to-1 or 4-to-1 or 16-to-1 ratios, where we can make stuff as clear as glass and it's stronger than glass.
Awesome.
But I mean, that's for us as a manufacturer, it's just about the number of units moving. So
Right.
those are specific things that we have to do in the auto or healthcare industry in Europe, and we're just and then you have the retailers that do the large 1-to-1 epoxy ratios. It's not popular in Europe at all. I mean, they don't really use 1-to-1.
Got it. Oh,
Whoa.
Sorry. I was trying to tag someone. I'm trying to get to your question. Okay, hit the wrong button.
Did you have a question?
Rachel Fleury was asking, are there specific glues that SuperTite carries in the US that isn't allowed in the EU?
Nope.
No, because they're made in the EU, and yeah, they're good stuff.
Yeah, all of our products are European formulas and European raw materials.
Yep. All righty, very good.
All right, so
Okay,
trying to read through what all have we talked over.
I've got one more while you find something. Cindy says, should we go for a 2-to-1 or a higher for clearer adhesive?
Well,
Yeah, that wouldn't make it more clear. It would be possibly
Stronger.
well,
Yeah.
we can. I mean, yeah, clarity is just based on the formula.
No.
But we can do 2-to-1, 4-to-1. The bigger the ratio is in our components, the stronger it will be. Yeah.
Good question. And Brian, are you good on time? You have a few more minutes. Jesse has some more questions.
Yeah, just a couple more minutes.
Okay. Super.
Where was I now? Okay, I guess the last question, if we're running short on time, is what would make an adhesive a safer alternative other than, chemical composition? What are I don't know if you can tell us, what are some of the chemicals that we should be looking out for, things that we may want to stay away from?
Okay, so.
Or if we can't answer that, what are some chemicals that we could work with safely?
Okay, yeah, so going back to, the warnings on the card of a product, if you're seeing cancer warnings or reproductive harm warnings, you should, in our opinion, account for that for your health and safety and sanity long term.
So if we see those warnings on the label, first step, look at the label. If we see those warnings, go try to find the SDS and see what those chemicals are. And what is it, section 3? And if that's not giving us enough clarity, maybe turn to Google and find out what those chemicals do if we're not getting full information there.
Yeah, and then that'll lead into your section 9 and the section 11. Section 11 is all toxicological impacts, which is in addition to the warnings that you get on the consumer product itself. So chemicals you shouldn't work with. Yeah, I mean, you would want to stay away from a lot of the styrenes, and any product, or I can say this, any product that is a chlorinated solvent, which leads to chloroform status or status.
Right.
Would
The
be
ether
a good idea not to use, right? Now, people say, "Oh, what about acetone?" So we have to use pure acetone. Okay, acetone is not a bad thing. Your body creates acetone in its physiological process 24 hours a day.
Hey, wait, say that again. Your body what?
Yeah, your body inside physiologically produces and releases acetone.
Most people don't know that. I just had to have you repeat it.
Yeah, there's certain
ketoacidosis.
Yeah, right. So there's certain diets and so on that will you produce more or whatnot. But if we're required, we use as pure as possible acetone. Okay, so yes, it's listed as a VOC, but we're not required to report any health effects or impacts from it because it's so pure. There's no other heavy molecules weighing it down. It quickly goes. It moves out. It's lighter than air. It's not bonding with air. It evaporates and it's gone. Acetone, when it's mixed or diluted or has a mixed ratio, that's where you want to be careful in using acetone in other projects where maybe you're trying to clean something. If you're trying to clean something, I wouldn't recommend acetone. I would actually say, why don't you use alcohol first?
Rubbing alcohol, yep.
Yep. So rubbing alcohol, completely safe. Acetone will have probably the least amount of impact for a chemical solvent wise on a person. And but on the do not use solvents, there's a long list of solvents that are banned in Europe that have no regulation really in the U.S. other than triggering those cancer warnings or reproductive harm warnings or neurological disorder warnings.
Yeah. Right. I have a question here. Are there any resources where we can learn all there is to know about epoxies and adhesives from Danica? Is there like a resource on your site, Brian, that people can go to, or maybe a Wikipedia resource or something to just start diving into all this, or it just becomes kind of drowned out because there's millions of pieces of information?
Yeah, you can go. One thing is to go through the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and they have what's called the Federal Hazardous Substance Act. And in there, they'll list, some information. Certainly, getting an SDS and looking up those chemicals is very valuable.
Right.
For people to do. Using Wikipedia or Google is going to help try to get through a lot of the technical terms, and I've tried to make stuff very basic as I can to condense that information down. When you're researching those chemicals, it's really those warnings are there. The Federal Hazardous Substance Act or Prop 65 will have a lot of legislation on it. You'll want to stay away from anything that's chlorinated. So if it has the word chloro in it, you'll probably want to stay away from it. Health-wise. But in Europe, it's just not allowed to use chlorinated solvents, period.
Right.
So, and then you have.
Game for you.
Sorry.
It's a different ball game for you guys.
Yeah, different ball game for us. And another resource would be to look at the REACH regulations for consumers and see what chemicals are restricted there. We don't offer it on our website because we're more for the consumer auto professional sector. That's a lot of information to disclose out to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. This was great. Everyone in the comments are thanking you guys for putting this together and answering these questions. It's been very informative. Is there any more top questions for Brian? He's probably got to get going here soon. Jesse, you got anything else?
No, I can't see any comments. So
yeah, I've been reading all the longer questions, but and we'll reply back to the ones that were asking about shipping information. You can definitely contact supertite.com for shipping to Mexico and Australia and stuff like that. Yep. Awesome. And there's another one about Australia. So yes. So Brian, what's your corporate email for someone for Australia?
Yeah, it'd be info.na for North America at unicall.com. So Unicall is our corporate name.
Info.na at unicall.com.
Yeah, UNECOL.com. But for other countries, if people want to import, the product needs to meet that country's chemical regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So if the wording has to be changed to be different for that country, then that requires a certain subset of products that we have to print separately from our existing product.
Right. Awesome. Very good. Well, this was fantastic. And this will be wherever you guys are watching this from, whether it's my Facebook channels, Jesse's Facebook channels, or YouTube. All of this will be recorded and it should stay there forever and ever. And I'm going to try to kind of download one and maybe possibly put it on Instagram and TikTok. I've got a TikTok over here, but it dropped me. I also found out from someone that the first 5 minutes, it just popped up. And then we were live. So I hate to reintroduce, but I didn't. I'm sorry that it, for some reason, it just started 5 minutes afterwards. But if you guys didn't know, this is Brian, president of SuperTite Adhesives in what city are you guys in? Raleigh or Durham?
Yeah, North Carolina, the state. Yeah.
Oh, on mine, he's on this side. Weird. Oh yeah, and then we've got Jesse from Diamond Fire Rhinestones that we brought in for this conversation, and yeah, this was awesome. So we tried not to go into brand specific. I do have a question. I'm gonna leave the name of the glue out of it. So someone says, "Super cool that you're here, Brian." Now I use a certain glue. I hate it. It smells, and I know it's just toxic. Oh, maybe that wasn't a question. Okay, sorry. Retract. Okay, then you should probably for sure stop. Yeah. So
it's just a comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I thought it was like, oh, I didn't want to talk about brand specific, but yeah, we're talking about chemicals and safety and stuff like that. Yes. Awesome. Well, this was great. We maintained over 100 people at the whole time, and very informative, and hopefully it'll get shared out and revisited from after this. This was awesome. Thank y'all so much for your time. I'm going to stay on here live for another 10 minutes. We're going to end our giveaway, and Brian said he'll send to us probably 2 or 3 glues also for our package, and then we'll add that to the giveaway. But I've got to keep it open for 10 more minutes. But Brian, you don't have to hang out for that part. I can ramble to whoever about whatever. I can talk about a chemical that we all love, dopamine. Did you guys know that's what that is? Dopamine, baby.
All right. Well, Kelly and Jesse, thank you for putting it together, and thank you all for having interest in SuperTite.
You bet. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. That was fun.
Yes.
Very good.
I can hang out if you want me to stick around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So if you guys, what's up, April? Good to see you. I said hi in the intro, but then it was cut off. Yeah, I know. It was so strange, Cassie. The first 5 minutes, I was like, son of a, but yeah, so, Jesse over at Diamond Fire has a new location, warehouse. Are you open to the public, Jesse?
We do in-store pickup. We have not set up our full display area yet. Our warehouse side and everything we ship out of is fully set up. And then we've been working on getting this filming room set up. So
it's looking good. Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. Very good. And then I wanted to let everyone know that tomorrow is the last night for my VIP group, rhinestoneartist.com. It'll be closing down for the month, and that way we can get your kits out to you if you're in VIP 3. And we also will, let's see, I keep wanting to wait. It's 8 more minutes. I have to wait 8 more minutes to do that drawing. So if you're over here on TikTok, we have a giveaway that's on linked to all the other platforms as well. I see you, Tondalea. Good to see you over here on TikTok.
When are you shipping that out, Kelly?
I'm sorry, what?
When are you going to ship that out? You said you're waiting for Brian to send some glues.
Oh yeah, so for the giveaway, we'll ship it. He's probably gonna let us know which glues he wants me to send with my giveaway, and we'll ship it probably tomorrow. But we've got a shipment coming from him, but it's coming from Spain. So hopefully the Universal Pro epoxy will be here within the next week. But my Lord, we need some. So if I happen to catch a flight in Austin, where is it that I should break in and get that glue from you? Where did you put it? I'm kidding. We're desperate.
You'd have to find it in here.
Oh man, we are in desperate need.
There's a lot of drawers.
Yes.
Well, awesome. you have my number. You know, you can just message me.
I hear you. Oh yeah, Rachel loves Universal Pro. I know we all do. That was a good one. Yep. We're waiting on some very big installation projects that we need that glue for. All vertical stuff. So I'm like, I need the glue that doesn't really slide very much. Yeah, good stuff. Awesome. Let's see, Julie Gilliam. It's been super informative. I learned that I'm really happy and stopped using epoxy, even though a lot of epoxy peeps in the U.S. are suggesting we use it for adhesive for our rhinestone work. Yeah, I mean, look into lots of glues. Find the one that works for you. And if you have questions, reach out to SuperTite and reach out to the manufacturer of the glue you have questions for. So they've always been open to helping educate us. And that's one reason why I do a lot of dealings with SuperTite, is because of all the open education that they offer. So definitely reach out to any kind of chemical that you have, any manufacturer. And if you have any ones that just don't get back or don't respond very well, then that's just a kind of a warning. So unfortunately. So
I don't have my red flag to wave.
Yeah, red flag. Yeah. I was trying to be positive. Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. Casey Wilson. Hello, Miss Casey. Let's see. She says, where's it going? There it is. Oh, good. Awesome, Trina. That one. So Casey, do you notice a difference when it's colder with Epoxy Pro? I seem to have a lot of sliding that last week. 100% on any glue. If your temperature is colder, it's going to take longer for that cure process to work. So yes, colding will make it slide. Also, are your stones larger? If they're heavier, then they're going to slide. But if you're using our typical ones with, what is it, SS5 to 20s, typically on verticals, you shouldn't have too much sliding with that. Now 30s and 40s, and we're doing a big project this week with 50s, there's a bit of a sliding. But it's the weight. Yeah, and the pearls, they're heavy too. So it can also depend on your embellishments. For sure. Let's see. Crystal says we should have asked them about contact with skin. Yeah, if you see warnings on your package, you should definitely put gloves on and not be putting your fingers in the glue. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, Teresa's got Universal Pro that she got at TelmerCon. Yeah, you better hide that stuff. That's awesome. Let's see. Corey says, is Universal Pro mainly for rhinestone applications? Actually, Corey, it's not. The glues that I asked Brian for are not only because I'm applying rhinestones to items, but the main purpose of the glues that we have formulated are to react, contract, expand with heat. So no matter if you're gluing, car parts to car parts or engine parts, like anything that's massively industrial, that's one of the criteria that I had to ask for in that mixture, that formula of SuperTite's Universal Pro epoxy. Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of above and beyond what we wanted for the formula, and that's just what we always kind of go for. Yeah, let's see. And I wonder, Jesse, why it's not letting you see comments. It's our first time kind of joining up and adding other groups and stuff. So, learning every day. Let's see, Facebook use best glue for Crocs. You're going to want to look at a cyanoacrylate. We have a pretty good process. It's a 2-part process that we like, and we have it on our site, and it's the Samurai Glue Kit. But it's a 2-part process. But I have a free video showing you how to do all that. So, but a cyanoacrylate is going to be your best bet. Where'd you go, Jesse?
I don't know.
No,
I saw something that said, oh, there I go. Well, no.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, there you
we
are.
go. I found
Oh.
comments, but it doesn't let me see them all at the same time.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's good then. At least you
I
found
can
it.
either see the comments or I can see the video. I can't see both apparently.
Oh. Are you filming from your iPad?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder because I'm on my desktop and I rarely go live from a mobile device because I have to see all the stuff. All the stuff. Yes. Let's see. And Tina, yes, you should definitely sand your Crocs first. We always recommend to sand any and everything unless it's display only. Then we don't have to go to that process. So yeah, definitely sand that Crow's Light material. Cross Light. I don't know how to pronounce it. Crow's Light, Cross Light. Awesome. All right, we got 2 more minutes, and it'll take me a second to do the export, and then we'll do the little spin the wheel thing, and I'll try to share my screen, but it kind of glitched out on me earlier, but we will totally show you. So we got a question from Michelle. I'm sorry, and it says, Jesse, what does OFR on your shirt mean? It's a DFR.
Oh, it's
Her beautiful hair was
DFR. Yeah.
the D.
Sorry, the hair's in the
Diamond
way.
Fire Rhinestones. And that is actually, what's the rest of it say? Diamond Fire Rhinestone Creates. And that is her VIP group. And is that at dfrcreates.com or that's just, it's on diamondfirerhinestones.com and then find the VIP link. I bet that's
Yeah,
right.
it's pretty prominent. It's like the 3rd button or something. So we go live there multiple times a week, almost daily during the week.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Danica says, what was all this? Both of us make a giant rhinestone color chart includes all of your stones. Oh yeah, that'd be great. That's a dream. That's a dream for all of us. Yes. Yeah. One day, a girl can dream. One day.
Kelly did the closest at one point. However, what I always tell people is we add new colors almost every week or every other week. So by the time we even ship that out to you, that chart's obsolete.
Yep.
That's the downfall right now is there's so many new colors being added. It's just impossible to keep up with. And then the labor involved to hand place each stone on a color chart like that is super intensive. And I think, we're more focused on getting you guys product in a timely fashion than sitting there and hand dotting stones.
Yep. But there are some empty spots on it, so you can add in everything you want. Everything you want. Yes, Kathy, this live will be available on all the platforms. It'll be saved as well. Awesome and good. Miss Mina, thank you for being in both VIP groups. Very cool. And Debbie, thank you for loving Ellie's portrait. I'm normally going to have it hanging in my wall here. I'm kind of in a redecoration of my home office as well. Yeah. Let's see, Danica, how about a subscription service? I would pay for it. What kind of subscription, Danica? Because both of our VIPs are subscription services. Let us know. Let us know. Ooh, what about a subscription for all the new colors? That just means you got to get on it and you got to get them. Oh, for the color charts. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. I don't know how we'll do that. That would be a good task to figure out for sure. Yep. Awesome. Oh, t-shirts for both subscriptions. Yep. What's that? What's that, Susie? Oh, right. Yes. April. So, side note, and I saw it just turned 5 o'clock. So let me do my export. April, today's November 6th, the day that we finished the Porsche at SEMA in Vegas. Woo, woo, woo. That was fun. I saw it in my memories. Memories. Oh, it's so fun. Okay. Let me end this. Let me refresh and let me end and export. So 167 of you guys. Put this on the desktop so I don't lose it. Replace. Okay, awesome. And now let me try to bring it into that app here. Open a local file. Oh, it's a zip. Hang on. Let me try to not end all this and screw everything up. Okay. And I wanted to thank my buddy Todd for letting me know how to do this little process here. And where did it go? Hang on. Hold, please. I'm looking at 15 different windows. Desktop. Modified. There it is. Zip. And there's the CSV. And I don't need that open. I don't need that open. And let me add that app. Open it. Local file. There it is. Okay. I'm importing. Oh, of course, an error occurred. Is it because there's too many? How does it have a open? I don't know. An error occurred. Refresh the web page. Control Shift R. Control Shift R. Okay, then let me try that. Control Shift R. Okay, I did that. Open. One moment. It still has an error. Okay, well, TikTok gets to watch it, and if you guys want proof of who is winning, I can put that up there too. Click to spin or press Control Shift Enter. I'm gonna click. I hate for it to not be on the screen with you guys, but it's giving me an error, and that's a bummer. Susie, any recommendations? No.
I'm a witness.
I know, yeah. Oh, Steve's a witness. Come over here, Steve.
All right, everybody. I'm
Look,
watching
Steve's right here.
Hey,
Steve.
everybody.
All right, and we go to this app, and I put in what?
It's turning.
Oh, copy and paste. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let me go back to here. I'm sorry, here.
Hold on, y'all.
Blue Talk. That's not it. Open. Desktop. Everyone loves to see Steve. Okay, so I'm going to copy.
Chandelier was on there.
Yes, Chandelier was over here on TikTok. Do I copy the emails or just the names? Probably just email. It didn't separate first names and last names, so people's full name will be on there. I guess that's fine because it was on the your name was on the thing, on the live. So copy and paste. Ah, there it is. Okay. And I'm taking Susie Peterson out because she was a test. Okay. Look at this wheel. Oh my goodness, it's hurting my eyeballs.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky.
It's kind of okay. Click to spin. Here it goes, you guys.
All right.
Holy moly.
Spinning like crazy.
No one can see it because I can't share my window.
Yeah.
It's not letting me.
And it's slowly.
Actually, I'm lying. I can share the stupid screen. There we go. That one. Pat Loney. That's
there we go.
Yes. Sorry, guys. I was thinking it wouldn't let me load it in. All right. So Pat Loney, please email info@crystalninja.com and we can get your prize out to you. I can do a stop sharing there. And okay. Sorry about that little glitch. I was having to download, export, convert, copy, paste. We did it. Yay. Oh, there's Pat right there. Awesome. Congrats, Pat. You're the winner of our game. Yay. Very good. All right, ma'am.
Oh, yes. We got Susie here.
Yes, and everyone can watch this on playback on whatever platform that you're watching it from. And yeah, very cool. So it is 6 after 5. I got a skedaddle. I've got glue wet that I applied to maybe it's still wet because I put it in the little fridge. But yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Fun stuff. Yeah. All righty. Well, take care, Jesse. Get back to work. And you guys all get back to work or have a good evening if you have a life.
Let's go home now.
Yeah.
Go home. It's 7 o'clock.
I'm already home. So I have the blue pill. I think my shift ends at 2 a.m. So I'll be here. All right, you guys. Later.